Hey guys, so I had the opportunity to attend the world premiere of Crime 101, and it was not good. Unfortunately, it was bad. Crime 101 is written and directed by Bart Layton, who also wrote and directed American Animals. The film stars Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Barry Keoghan, and Halle Berry. It is based on a novella of the same name, written by Don Winslow. I'm referring to the original 2021 novella, not to be confused with the movie tie-in novella set to be released sometime this year. And wow, where to even start with this? Spoilers ahead. This is a 2-hour, 20-minute film that felt like 4 hours. There's definitely a 1 hour, 40-minute film in here that could have been enjoyable. Instead, it just feels like a slog. And it's not even the type of action movie where you're just waiting for the next action scene, but really, when can I leave this film? When is this finally going to be over? The biggest problem with this film, honestly, is that the directing is really bad. And I'm sorry to say this. I'm really sympathetic to passionate directors who want to make this type of film, especially action films. I enjoy action films. At the screening, Layton went on stage and he said that this was his first studio film. I mean, he really has an all-star cast to back him up, but the directing here is just really inexperienced. Most, if not all, of the dialogue scenes are just basic shot reverse shot coverage with really nothing else interesting going on. And even the action scenes, they have their moments, but it's not enough to justify the film. The car chases are super generic, and you can clearly tell that the editing uses a lot of fast cuts to cover up the lack of footage they have for the sequences. I think the robbery and standoffs had a decent tension. They have a quick pace and they're not too drawn out, but at the same time, they don't really play out unpredictably. And this isn't necessarily a flaw. It's clearly just straightforward thinking. There's no edge to the storytelling. There's no understanding of twists and really keeping the audience on their toes. It's just very straightforward. In terms of the story, there's this whole dynamic between this crime boss whose name is Money, played by Nick Nolte. And the implication is he raises Chris Hemsworth's character. He teaches him everything he knows. But by the time we meet him, he doesn't do anything. He suggests ideas for heists, but Chris Hemsworth is the one that does all of the staking out and the planning and the actual robbery. And I guess Nick Nolte sells the diamonds to a fence, and like that's his deal, that he's the guy in contact with a fence. But at the same time, he has no leverage. Like he can't physically beat up Chris Hemsworth. He doesn't have anyone else who can stand up to him. It doesn't, like, he has no skills. And then he completely, as if the film realizes this, he completely disappears from the second half of the movie. And along the same point, I have no clue what anybody wants. The crime boss wants money, but he's like this super old guy, and he definitely has enough money to just retire. And same thing for Chris Hemsworth. He wants one last job, I guess. And to be fair, one of the film's themes is, when is it going to be enough? Like, when will you have enough money? When can you quit and retire and just walk away? But there's no tangible endpoint for the character's goals. We also don't have a strong sense for what's at stake. We don't know what their win and loss condition is. Because at any point in this film, Chris Hemsworth could have walked away, not done the last job, and he would have had no issues. Nick Nolte sends Barry Keoghan to stalk Chris Hemsworth only because he knows there's going to be another heist. And so if there's no other heist, there's nothing for him to do. And maybe like he kills him, but what are we doing here? Halle Berry, as the insurance broker, wants the promotion to partner. She doesn't do anything actively in pursuit of that want other than listening to her boss and continuing her job as normal. The only one with a clear want is Mark Ruffalo. He wants to catch specifically Chris Hemsworth. Like, he has this gut instinct that when Barry Keoghan comes in and all the other cops are like, oh, that's the same guy, Mark Ruffalo goes, that's not my guy. That's a different guy. And he just wants Chris Hemsworth. But then at the end, the final twist is he just lets Chris Hemsworth go because capitalism and or something. I'm not. That's also not very clear. In terms of acting, again, this ties back into the direction of the film. All of the performances were phoned in. You can tell like these are A-list actors who are working with a really weak script, and they're not getting the feedback they need to really lean into their roles, so they're just phoning it in. Hemsworth and Keoghan both do this sort of like tough guy American accent, which I think constrains their performances a lot because they have to focus on that so much. Another thing I forgot to mention is that Barry Keoghan barely has any lines in this film, and I wonder if it's because of the accent that they cut a bunch of it, but I'm not sure about that. Halle Berry at least tries to not play herself, because Mark Ruffalo, he's just, I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. He plays himself. He's one of those actors who plays himself, and I think really he's been typecast recently because he plays the exact same detective type character as on the TV show Task, which I think he gave a better performance there. Also on acting, there's this romance between Monica Barbaro and Chris Hemsworth, which there's really nothing going on there. I think they're both trying, but the script doesn't give them anything to work with. There's an interesting point at the end where it seems like Halle Berry and Mark Ruffalo have some chemistry. Interesting, but unfulfilled. Like, it's not really a point of the film. In terms of editing, there's so many self-aggrandizing shots. Aerial shots of Los Angeles, or just overall, all the other shots are too long. They need to cut sooner. You don't gain anything from extending the shots, and the performances aren't there either. So they just needed to shorten everything. The music was emotionally insistent, and there's no variety. Like, they used the same generic theme to insist that this is a dramatic moment, or this is a romantic moment, or something interesting is happening, because the performances are not doing it for you. At one point, they reused an aerial shot of Chris Hemsworth's car driving on the freeway. It's the exact same shot. You can tell because of how the two cars drive next to each other. I thought that was kind of funny. Honestly, I enjoyed a lot of the aerial shots of LA, and like the LA traffic is really pretty. The rotating shot was really dumb. That took way too long. And the film starts with this, and it's so silly. It's so silly because it starts rotating and it doesn't finish rotating. It cuts away, and then it cuts back, and it's still rotating even more. And then later on, near the end of the film, it does the full rotation. Oh my god, that was crazy. The film is called Crime 101 because of the I-101 freeway, and it has nothing to do with learning about crime. There's moments of humor throughout. People in the theater were laughing. I don't think they were supposed to be laughing. Like, during the climax, people were laughing, which, if people are laughing during your most dramatic climax, I think something went wrong there. One of the set marketing points was that this film was filmed entirely in LA, and you can see, if you're from LA, you can recognize a lot of the places in the film. The film is vaguely a love letter to LA, but it's also not really a love letter because it's not making any commentary on Los Angeles, okay? Halle Berry at one point says, "Why else would anybody live here?" The film briefly mentions homelessness for no reason without making any opinionated statement on it. There's a vaguely meta joke throughout this film about how Angelinos don't go to the beach despite everyone living less than half an hour from the beach. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. I feel like it's like a nod and wink type deal. There's a recurring use of a meditative voice, and it's definitely referencing Tamara Levitt and the guided meditation from calm.com. I couldn't confirm that it was actually her, so I assume they just found a similar voice, and I'm really hoping it's not AI. And supposedly this guided meditation was also in the original novella. I haven't read it. There's a funny shot where Halle Berry's exiting a yoga studio and she sees Chris Hemsworth in his car beneath a "Be Here" wall advertisement, and I thought that was kind of funny. That's one of the recurring themes throughout. Along with, when is it enough? When do you have enough money? When can you walk away? You should be in the moment. You should live your life now, no matter how much time you have left, no matter what you think you need to do. You should be more present. But at the same time, the other half of this movie thematically is just fuck rich people, but capitalism is still good. Like, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. Halle Berry, at one point, this is her character arc moment. She gives a FU speech to her boss. She's telling him off. She's like, I might be 53, but I'm not going to give the rest of my years to you. And then she walks out. And then legit, everyone in the audience started clapping. And most of the audience was teenage girls who, by the way, they were on their phones for most of this film. If that says, and if you can take what you want from that, they were scrolling through Instagram, texting people, playing pool. They were not watching the film. They clapped and cheered for this Halle Berry moment. And so it is definitely anti-billionaires, but it's still pro-capitalism because they still supported stealing from the rich. So I guess it's kind of a Robin Hood philosophy. If Robin Hood was capitalist, in the end, Mark Ruffalo becomes a dirty cop. Like, there's a point where this other police guy shoots a teenager and then plants a gun on him. And then Mark Ruffalo's like, man, that dirty cops, I'm going to tell the truth. But then at the end, he lets Chris Hemsworth go, and then he steals some diamonds. And so he becomes a capitalist. Like, Halle Berry literally says that. You're looking very capitalist today. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on here. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. It'd be one thing if it was just eat the rich, but it's like eat the rich, but capitalism is still good, guys. This is totally random. I have a mini theory that this film is just Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, if you think about it. So Chris Hemsworth masquerades as a wealthy socialite when he's trying to deceive people into his plan, but he has a secret double life. Barry Keoghan is this force of chaos, this force of nature, like the Joker. And then Mark Ruffalo plays a Commissioner Gordon type where he's trying to balance the law and helping a vigilante, because he literally lets Chris Hemsworth go in the end. And then Halle Berry played Catwoman in Catwoman 2004. And yeah, this film was not good. It's not even worth watching as an action film, unfortunately. There's some interesting ideas, but when your film is 2 hours and 20 minutes, is just having interesting ideas in a 2 hour, 20-minute film is just scraping the bottom. There's no story here to lean on. There's no solid writing to lean on. The performances are, oh God. Final takeaways, unfortunately, not good. I apologize to the filmmakers and everyone who worked on this, but yeah.